In this video, I'm going to talk about how to best use human design in your life and to help your clients if that's something that you're doing. There's a lot of different views and versions of how human design can help us in our lives, and as someone who's been getting more and more into the field as an HD specialist, I've done my fair share of reflecting on how does human design really help us and how can I actually go about explaining to the people that I want to help out what it can do for them. So today I'm going to focus this video on spreading a view of human design that one of my favorite human design teachers and professionals often shares. And the reason I'm dedicating this video to that is because this view is super empowering and I feel like it could benefit us all, whether you're someone that just learns human design for yourself or if you use it in your practice. So here's how this video is going to go. First, I'm going to share with you who this inspirational teacher is and what view she is often sharing in her social media. Then I'll give you some examples of how she shares this view so that you can understand how it really works in real life. Then I'll share an exercise I did myself in my own life so that I could get my views closer to this view. And lastly, I will share an exercise that you can do that's really quick and simple and you can do right when you finish this video to tap into living your own human design in a loving way. And if you are an HD professional or any kind of professional using the knowledge for your clients, it's also going to help you to be able to guide your clients into self-love. So the teacher that I'm talking about, you guys, and I'm usually in the Instagram world of human design, and I'm always looking at Erin Jones' content. I feel that she has very refreshing content, and more than anything, I'm obsessed with when she shares session notes in her stories. Because I feel like the best way to learn about human design is, of course, having the theory as basis, but when we can see examples of people living their designs in their life, or when they have aha moments and they relate to design, then that's when we can really understand what the energies are. So Erin Jones' view that she always shares, especially in this Instagram stories, is that most people actually already know their human design. It's not that we're telling people like really new things that they didn't know about themselves when we tell them about their human design, but we are confirming to them that what they know about themselves and what they felt through their whole life is actually true, and it's okay. So in my view, this is highly helpful and super empowering, because what happens to most of us is most of the things that we recognize about ourselves before we come into contact with this kind of knowledge, we feel wrong about them. We feel that there's something wrong with us that we should change, because the narrative we've been hearing is that we have to fit the mold, that we have to do the things that are right, that we have to be the kind of person that, you know, our parents wanted us to be or that society wants us to be. And so when things are different about us, we kind of make ourselves wrong about it. And so human design gives us this information, and then we find out that the things that we felt were wrong about us were actually correct about us. And that, my friends, is so empowering, because it gives us the ability to step into self-love, to accept this part of ourselves as ours, and therefore to stop neglecting ourselves and to start listening to that inner voice and trusting that we know and that we are the only ones that have the correct answers for our own life. So here are a few examples that Erin shared in her stories that support this view. Okay, so firstly, she shared about a client who was having a little bit of trouble in her business relationship. So she had a business partner and things weren't working out that well. And what she said was so true, is how we enter everything is everything. And so she asked this client, how did you feel when you entered this relationship at first? And the client said that she knew from the beginning that something wasn't right with that partnership. So this is a great example of us needing to trust our body more, of our body and our intuition communicating things to us all the time. And a lot of the time what happens is that we just kind of ignore that voice and we go with what we've always gone with, which is the mind. And a lot of the times when we enter situations, when we enter relationships with the mind, and there's something in our mind telling us no, but we go ahead with it anyway, then most of the time we end up regretting. Okay, the second example I have for you guys is Erin was talking about a client who was saying that naturally she was always waking up at night and eating, munching on things in the middle of the night. And of course, right, the narrative we hear in our society is that that's not correct. correct. We hear about mindful eating. We hear about sitting down for meals and having set times for meals. There's all these different things of what's right. Of course, this client was feeling guilty about what she was doing and feeling like this was a behavior that she needed to change. This is a great example because it turns out that in her human design digestion, so there's a part in human design that speaks to us about how we digest food, but also information the best way. And for her, this was indirect light, which means that she digests food better when the sun is not out, when it is dark. So this is another example of someone that was behaving in a way that was completely correct for them, but that because of whatever they've heard before, society's narrative, I don't know, mindful eating, whatever it is, they were making themselves feel guilty about it. And in the end, that's what ends up hurting us the most, right? It's not the behaviors that we are doing that are wrong. It's the way our mind reacts. It's the way that we treat ourselves for who we are and what we're doing. It's the story we're telling ourselves that we should get better at this and we shouldn't be doing that, when really, if we can just tune into our body and follow what it wants, then we're going to be on the right track. Okay, so I was thinking about this view that Erin shares, that human design actually is just a tool that ends up confirming who we are and not really telling us anything new, and that, you know, it helps us step into ourselves because it helps us trust ourselves. I wanted to be an HD professional that also transmits this message. So I thought, what better than to go through this exercise myself and think of 3 things that I've discovered through human design, but that actually have been confirmations. Things that I've already deeply known about myself, but that human design confirmed. So here they go. So the first one is that my environment in human design, so there's a part that talks about your ideal environment, and one of them is shores. Mine is shores, and it's crazy because growing up, I never lived by the beach. I went to the beach maybe once a year with my family, but growing up, I remember just dreaming about living on the beach. And it wasn't any beach in particular. I lived in Chile, I grew up there, but I dreamed of living in the tropics, and I would just imagine like this barefoot kind of lifestyle, and I just would be so surprised that maybe that could be a possibility for me one day. Eventually, at some point in my 20s, I quit my job and decided to take a job in Costa Rica. And it's so insane because that place where I lived for 2 years, it was so beautiful. It was in the middle of the jungle. Literally, monkeys would come to our house, and it was also by the beach, by the shore. And honestly, I've never felt more at home in my life. When I left, for various reasons that I won't go into, it really felt like the first time I was leaving my home. And I never felt that before with leaving Chile, which is my home country. The other really interesting thing about this is that it was only when I got to Costa Rica that a whole series of events started unfolding that actually brought me into my spiritual path and brought me into where I am today. So I really feel like being in that correct environment was what triggered what needed to happen for me in my life. Okay, so the second thing that human design confirmed for me was that I have a 6 in my profile. Ever since I left college and tried a million of different jobs, because a 6 also acts like a 3 in the profile for the first 30 years, I started feeling a pull more and more to share my experiences. I felt like I wanted to have something like a YouTube channel or some kind of way, some kind of outlet to share what I was living, what was working for me and what wasn't working for me, and about some of the experiences I've had in the past that I thought people should hear. And a lot of the times my mind came in the way and it told me, who are you to share this stuff? Why would anybody want to listen to you? But as I learned about my human design, I realized that being a role model, not in the super like pedestal kind of way, but just sharing authentically who I am and what I've been through, is actually a big part of my design. Honestly, I am so happy that I was able to get over those critical voices in the mind, because this is what makes me the happiest, and I'm so grateful that I'm doing this right now. Okay, and the third thing that I'm going to include in this video that human design confirmed for me actually doesn't have to do with my design, but it has to do with my son's design, my son Kai. And I just needed to include this because when I read about this in his design, I was just so relieved. So Kai is nervous digestion. Again, we're back to digestion. And when he was younger, so he's just 3 years old right now, but throughout his entire life. We've tried for him to eat in a calm way because we thought, you know, being people that mindfulness is important in our lives and we meditate and stuff, we thought, of course, it's good for everyone, right? To digest their food in a calm way, to sit mindfully and, you know, not do many things while you're eating. Well, he never, ever could do that. So as soon as his little hands could pick up toys, he would just bring all his toys to the dinner table, refuse to sit down, play around, stand up. You get the picture. So after learning that he was nervous digestion, and he actually digests better, not only food, but information when he's playing or doing other things or walking or whatever, I kind of had no choice but to let him do what he naturally was doing already. All right, well, those were my 3 examples of just 3 things that HD confirmed for me and my family. There are a lot more. So now it's your turn. So here's the exercise that you can do to get closer to your design and to the view that human design is actually an empowering tool that connects us to who we already know we are. Think of everything you've learned with human design. It doesn't matter if you know the basics or if you're an advanced reader. Just think of 3 things that either for you or for the people around you have confirmed something that you already knew before. I would love it if you shared it with me either in the comments below, or if you share on Instagram, you can tag me at Trini Human Design. Thank you so much for watching this video, and a special thank you to Erin Claire Jones for inspiring me and for being such a good teacher. Until the next video.